All right, welcome back to the homestead. All right, y'all. I'm sorry, it's been a while. I've been busy and I hope you've been busy. Today's video is gonna be a scorcher. It's not gonna be one of those pleasant things, but you know what? We have got to talk about it. If you're on this channel, you're here for one of maybe a few different reasons. I'm the guy that's got the really famous greenhouse. 3 years, 3 winters without any kind of electric inputs or any heaters, without any fans. And we're growing lemons and limes and avocados. I'm also the guy, I'm actually known more for my rabbit videos. Surprise, surprise, I'm like the rabbit guy. Didn't see that one coming. Anyway, so people are here for the rabbits, the goats, the homestead, whatever, but I am here to warn you. I'm here to warn you, baby. So I'm gonna go inside the greenhouse, but today we're gonna talk about a financial crisis that is brewing. And you need to hear this. I don't want you falling asleep because we're talking about financials, y'all. So this last Wednesday, there was a very weak auction in the US Treasuries, and it sent the stock market, just down dramatically. People were freaking out. You guys, let me just tell you this right off the bat. The stock market is just a little tiny part of the problem. The bond market is the behemoth. That's the thing that matters. And there looks to be, in my opinion, weakness in US Treasuries. And we're going to talk about that. But first, we're going to walk in the greenhouse. My wife doesn't like when I talk doom and gloom inside of our greenhouse. So, this is what I've done. As I survey the world and I see a lot of problems and a lot of weakness, I've responded with different preps, and I have felt prompted to share some of them with you. Not that you follow me, but that you go and you figure out what preps you're supposed to be doing. Because this is in Utah and this is not normal. We normally don't grow citrus, baby. But here in Manti, we are. By the way, if you want to learn how to do this, you go up to my playlist and you go look at construction videos. If you want to see a lot of cool greenhouse updated videos, you just go to the playlist and you go greenhouse updates. If you are like a big chunk of my people and you want to learn about the meat rabbit colony that we have, we've had some really other prominent preppers who have used some of our ideas from our rabbit colony. You can go up to our playlist and do rabbit colony. All right, so anyway, I'm a father of 9 kids. We're very active. We're very busy. And you know what? We found ways to make preparation a part of our lifestyle. I'm going to tell you why you need to do the same. So, before the subprime meltdown, none of us knew what subprime loans are and mortgage-backed securities, It was like something we didn't know about. Just like before 2020. Had you ever heard of PPE? I mean, unless you're a nurse or a doctor, PPE, and how many microns is the hole in your mask and all of that stuff. So like when the crisis come, we suddenly all are playing catch up with all of this stuff that's happening. Well, I'm just telling you that there is massive, massive problems brewing in the bond market. And I'm afraid that you and I are going to become experts in bonds in the coming days because America this year you don't really necessarily say that our treasury debt is rolling over. It matures. We have a record number of treasuries maturing this year. And it's to the tune of like $9 trillion. So it's like a third of our outstanding treasuries are rolling over, and a big fat chunk of them before July. Now, why does that matter, Nate? Just show us your stupid greenhouse. Your amazing greenhouse. Well, no, it matters completely. Because like if you are trying to refinance your debt, maybe you're stuck in, like a home equity, you have too much revolving debt, or you want to refinance your house and maybe take some of your debt and put it into your house equity. If you're trying to do that and you want rates to go lower, but yet we have a bond market issue, well, your rates aren't going lower. If you want to have an idea of what 10-year or of what the mortgage rates are going to do, go look at the 10-year treasury. That one most closely resembles if you're going to have rates going up or down. Okay, so that's a whole lot of fluff. You've already probably turned it off by now, but you shouldn't. This affects you and your household and your your ability to buy bread, because all of this affects inflation. And so I'm trying to thread the needles that we all need to be aware. Bond vigilantes, baby. We all need to know what's going on so that you can forecast how to keep your family safe. All right? Is that too much? Am I singeing the eyebrows? If not, I'm going to lay it on a little thicker. So with past crises, we always had the strength of the American dollar to rely on. You know, because of that, during the housing debacle, what did we do? We just turned on the printing press. You know, it was really cool. It's like Monopoly, where we can just sit there and print money. It comes out of nowhere. It's worthless. And then I can buy Park Place and I can buy Marvin Gardens. I can buy whatever I want because I have endless money. And the cool thing with that Monopoly experiment that we have been doing as we abuse the living crap out of the dollar the last 20, 50 years is the rest of the world had to deal with the inflation with us. So the rest of the world was so reliant upon the dollar that when we printed money, because they're using the dollar, especially to buy oil, they had to deal with the ramifications of the dollar. Okay, well, fast forward now, you know, we're in the middle of major geopolitical malaise, and it seems to me that the day of the dollar is getting closer to the dollar's dying, you know, and oh my God, that's too negative. Stop being so negative. Well, no. So you have literally a collection of countries in the BRICS that there's now like over 40 countries that have signed on to create a conglomerate system of currency that will rival the dollar. We haven't had to deal with that. As we've abused the dollar in the past and brought the whole world along for our little circus ride, we could do so without any rivals. Well, we now have a rival, baby. And it's not just that. So this last week, what did we see? But we saw record crypto currency increases. Bitcoin at an all-time high. It broke its record at least 2, maybe 3 times this week. Why is the world fleeing to Bitcoin for safety and not the dollar? Case in point. That is my point. Why? Got it? All right, by the way, look at this, the Manti Manor. By the way, if you ever want to support the homestead, you can go to any place where fine vacation rentals are sold and rented, and you can find the Manti Manor. This one is an 1870 rock home that I just restored, baby. So we have people staying in it already. And look at this. I'm gonna have this beautiful zinnia garden. I have this new entryway and all the landscaping is in progress. So this place is a masterpiece. By the way, I need somebody to edit. I have my construction video playlist and I have the Manti Manor Historic Home Remodel playlist as well. I have so many hours of construction videos on the greenhouse and so many hours of remodel videos on this that I'm going to redo those series and have an actual editor. So if you're that person, give me a comment and let me know, because I want to get these videos done immediately so that when you come to the Manti Manor, you can come in and scan a QR code and you can see how in the world we made it look this way. All right. Yes, I am flexing a little bit. I do apologize. My mom's proud of me. Mom, are you watching still my videos? Mom, give me a comment. So, okay, one last thing, and then I'm gonna go back to doom and gloom, baby. A friend of mine just gave me basically a stone rock arch. Look at that. So the best we can tell, I'm still putting it together. These things are like 100 pounds a piece. My back was killing me 2 days ago. But the best we can tell, it came out of an old rock church here in central Utah. And I'm going to put that right there as you go to my brand new hazelnut orchard. Oh, yes. So there you go. One of these days I'm going to do a video on my hazelnuts, which, by the way, very high in protein And by the way, they come in their own little packaging. And it's not a plastic packaging that's going to give you some weird form of cancer. No, it's a natural packaging that can store up to a year. Talk about a beautiful flipping prep. So there's one for you. Hazelnut video coming up imminently. So the finishing of this thread on economic instability. If the dollar is truly weakening and if we don't have some kind of a political solution to it, what happens if we go into a geopolitical fight with Iran, also known as a war? You know, so you have some countries that matter more than others. And, you know, when I think of countries like Russia or China or Iran, North Korea surely would be in there. But if you have these countries that have immense capacity for cyber, also immense capacity of, like, let's say these countries that have large holdings of American treasuries. So we're already going to need to rollover is the word I use, because I think you understand what I'm saying, as we have to renegotiate or we have to find new investors for treasuries that are maturing. We have to then go and replace those said treasuries because we're running like what, a $1.9 trillion deficit. So one of the things that some of these countries who are unkind to America and America's interests right now is they've got massive amounts of holdings of our treasuries. And so at this time, when this last week, we had a very bad time, a hard time selling our treasuries. Because of that, the 5-year treasury shot right past 4.5%, and the 30-year treasury went over 5%. That was in large part due to the very lackluster showing of our auctions on Wednesday. Okay, and by the way, if you're Japan, it's even worse. Even less people are showing up for their auctions. So you have people that maybe are unkind to you that hold our treasuries, like Russia and China, but you also have people who formerly were our allies, Japan, who hold, you know, I think they have over $1 trillion worth of our treasuries. Well, if they start dumping it out of geopolitical tit for tat, or if they start dumping treasuries, like in the case of Japan, because they're simply going through a massive liquidity crunch and need to for survival. They might be our friends, maybe a little bit ticked about the tariffs and everything else going on, but also needing cash. Well, then what? So I'm just saying, if these things don't go the way we planned, the things that you're buying today might cost a whole lot more tomorrow. Because are we overplaying our hand a little bit in some of the things we're trying to do in the world? I think that we are. By the way, being a prepper, being a homesteader, or being someone who is at least preparation minded is a way for you to get ahead of the curve. And so I welcome you to do that. I don't want to say before it's too late, but before it costs you a whole lot more money. And do it while the sun's still shining, baby. All right, that's the video. Leave me comments. It matters. It keeps me motivated. And I'm looking for an editor. Help me out.